All right. Hey guys, welcome back. Thanks for coming back. This is the Unhinged Ginge. I am Bo. Episode 2. Feeling a little more confident, I think. Anywho, let's see. We ended with me going off to college, so that's where we are going to pick up. So I went to college in Florida, and I left everything in Virginia. I traveled a lot as a kid, so getting far away from a space I'd been, in my opinion, staying too long was imperative. So I left Virginia and I went down to Florida to go to school, and had some really stellar roommates that I met at orientation. Super fun, very cool girls, good girls, much better women than I was, that's for sure. So I finally got a boyfriend when I was in college. Sweet baby, little Jewish guy. I don't know if he wants me to use his name or not, so I'm not going to, but respect. You were the best. He was a sweet angel. I ended up taking his virginity, which was really cute. He cared a lot more about that than I did, obviously, from what you heard last episode. So I lit candles, I made a playlist. You know it had Coldplay on it. You know it did. So shout out to Coldplay for that magical moment with that sweet man. He was fantastic. He treated me right. He was a really good guy. And at the end of that first year of college, we had been together, I guess, like three or 4 months, not long. Felt like a long time when it's your first boyfriend. It's like, oh my God, 3 months. But now that I'm saying out loud and thinking in hindsight, like, holy shit, we'd only been together 3 months. No wonder his mother responded the way that she did. I was pissed at the time, and now I'm like, oh wait, yeah, she had a really good she had a good point. I'd probably been fucking mad too. So I dropped out of college at the end of my first year. My mentor had killed himself and shot his wife. It was pretty intense. So the wind was just taken straight out of my sails. So I dropped out of school and didn't have a plan. Told my parents that I dropped out of school and didn't have a plan, and that I would call them when I did have a plan. I'm such an asshole. So I drove down to South Florida where he lived to stay with him for the summer, because I was in an apartment in college, but it was student affiliated housing. And I thought that I was going to be fine because my lease wasn't up until August, and this was at like the end of May, very beginning of June. So I was like, oh, it'll be fine. At least I have somewhere to stay for the next 3 months. Well, when I dropped out, I didn't realize, even though it seems so fucking obvious now, that I was not gonna have a place to live, and they told me I had to vacate the premises. So I had nowhere to go. So almost said his name. So sweet baby angel, so was like, oh no, just come stay at my place for the summer. It'll be totally fine. Mom's fine with it, blah, blah, blah. So he told me that his mother was okay with this. I drive down there and find out when I get there that he hadn't actually even told her what was going on. So he told her on my way down, basically, is what happened. So she was shocked and not pleased. But what are you gonna do? Are you gonna tell this 19-year-old girl that she's homeless now? Or I don't know. So she grinned and bared it and was as nice, I guess, as she could be for what we both just dropped on her. So, in full respect of that, I slept on the couch, not in his room, because that's the way that her rules were, and that's how she wanted. I cleaned, I cooked, I did everything that I possibly could, but still had to ask him what a shiksa was, because I heard that word a lot and didn't realize what that meant. But whatever. So it wasn't the most ideal situation, but it was a roof over my head. His mother was very kind to give that to me, and sorry about that. We could have been better people. We for sure could have been better people. I could have been a better person. But all the men in his family loved me. They thought I was fantastic. But the women were definitely in the shiksa territory as far as their feelings for me were concerned. I decided that I was going to go back to Orlando because I definitely was not staying in South Florida. So I had packed up my shit and headed back. He also was going back to school. We were still together, so it just made sense. So went back to Orlando. I found some roommates on roommates.com because this was like 2005. I found a house with 3 people, a couple and this other guy, and they were all much older than me, but probably in their late 20s, so probably maybe like 10 years. Felt like a lot more at the time, for sure. It didn't fit, right? So I decided to stop along the way and went to a, oh my God. Will you adopt dogs? A shelter. I went to a shelter. I went to adopt a dog because I'd asked them before I got up there, like, hey, is it okay if I have a dog, even though I didn't even have a dog? And they were like, yeah, we have 2. It's fine. No big deal. So I was like, okay, perfect. So I adopted a dog on my way to go move in with these people because I just did not want to be alone. I had no furniture. I had nothing. I had like my clothes and an air mattress and a dog. My car was loaded up. I had left the front seat open for this dog that I was gonna adopt, and I went and got her. She was incredible. Her name is Stone. Stoner, actually, because she ate my weed a lot. When I moved in, I thought that I was hiding it too well from myself and that I was just high and I couldn't remember where I put it. And then I was taking her for a walk and she shit a plastic baggie, and I was like, this bitch. And she would not answer to any name that I had tried to name her that first 2 weeks that I had her. She would not respond at all. But when she shit that bag, I was like, you fucking stoner. And she started shaking her tail and she was wagging and she was so excited. And I was like, oh my God, is that your name? And I was like, Stoner, sit. And she did, and that was it. So I called her Stone instead of Stoner for my parents' sake. And yeah, so got my dog, moved into this house. I was sleeping on this air mattress. The duration of me living there, I was sleeping on that air mattress. But that living situation didn't actually last that long because I had saved money when I was in South Florida. I was working at a cell phone kiosk in the mall back when Singular was the thing. And I had saved some cash and I was paying my rent and whatever, but then it's like, I could not find a fucking job. And so it got to the point where I was like, I have no skills. That's what this is I have no fucking skills. So what am I going to do? So I had enough money, I could either go to bartending school and hope for the best and hopefully it would get me a job, or I could pay next month's rent and I'd have a home for a month, but potentially couldn't get a job because I have skills doing anything. So I opted for bartending school. So I ended up going to bartending school, and it was like a week, like a 40-hour, 5-day week thing to like teach you how to do the basics, tricks of the trade. It was really cool. It was like this old guy that taught us, and he owned the building. He was a chain smoker, and I had quit smoking for like 6 months at that point. I was very proud of myself. But man, sitting in that classroom 8 hours a day and having this dude blow fucking cigarettes smoke in your face, I made it, I think, 1 or 2 days in that class before I ended up breaking down. I went outside on our break because we'd have like a little hour break in the middle of the things. And I went outside, and this chick that was in bartending school with me walked up to me and asked if she could bum a cigarette. And I was like, I don't have any. I was actually about to go buy a pack. And she was like, dude, I quit. And I'm like, dude, me too. And she's like, yeah, but I just can't be in this classroom with this guy blowing smoke in my face because now I want a cigarette. And I was like, oh, all right, bet. So we ended up buying a pack and splitting it. And then that was like the second day of class. And after that, we just sat next to each other every day and became thick as thieves. I have spoken to her. She told me to change her name. We will talk about that later. I owe her a lot. And one of the things I owe her is an apology. She was amazing. She is amazing. And I miss her terribly. But anywho, so she ended up living not too far from this place that I was renting with these people. So she and I went out one night, blah, blah, blah. I crashed into her place. And it just kind of turned into like why don't we move in together? She had a 1-bedroom, but her lease was about to run up and everything just kind of worked out great so that I could fall in and we could live together. And we both, like, we went and applied for jobs together and everything else. And we both ended up getting hired at the same restaurant. So we both ended up getting hired at the same restaurant. It has to be closed by now, but it was called The Captain and the Cowboy. Which now, working at so many gay bars that I have, that name is hilarious. It was in an old, like, plantation house, and it had 3 stories. It was broken in half based on the theme. So half of it was this country theme with, like, steer horns and fucking, like, lots of wood and saddles and shit, and they played country music. And then the other side for the captain was beach themed and had these beautiful murals on the wall with, like, the ocean and whatnot, and played a lot of Bob Marley and more of like a Caribbean type vibe. So I guess if you can't make up your mind, might as well just split down the middle. So we applied there as bartenders, but they hired us as waitresses, which was fine. It wasn't because they didn't want us to bartend, it was because neither one of us was 21. And even though you didn't have to be 21 in Florida to tend bar, that's just what this place wanted. So it's like, all right, fine. So I'm 19, I'm not mad about it. In August, when we had gotten these jobs, the restaurant hadn't opened yet. So it was kind of one of those things where they basically hired half the staff with no experience, the other half the staff with experience. And we did it where, like, they said, like, within 3 days you're gonna know, and we're gonna fire most of you. So it's like, oh shit. So I kept my job. Unfortunately, she did not. It just wasn't in the cards for her at the time. But loved that place. Food was great. They'd serve us underage, so we'd drive 40 minutes to get there before we'd go and tear the town up. I don't even know why I'm talking about this restaurant so much. It's crazy. But that's how I started in this business. So I was waiting tables, and my boss was like, Bo, like, what are you doing, man? Like, you, like, because I'm sitting on businessmen's laps, I'm having, like, a party, and he's like, you need to be behind a bar. You cannot be working in fine dining and things like this. Like, this isn't what you're cut out for. So he ended up getting me a job at a biker bar that was a few miles away, and that's how I started my bartending journey. I remember I walked in there, I was wearing 6-inch stilettos and a mini skirt. I was ready for this interview. I was like, yes, no one's gonna say no to me today. And turns out their day shift girl had not shown up. So since she pulled a no call, no show, and I went in for an interview, I ended up having to bartend right that day in 6-inch heels and a mini skirt at a biker bar. And I was like, please, for the love of fucking God, just straight shots of liquor and beer. Straight shots of liquor and beer. Because even though I knew what I was doing, I had no fucking clue what I was doing. I took a class, and like I said last episode, like, you can't just read a book and expect to know what the fuck you're doing. You know, you have to exercise that, and I hadn't exercised shit yet. So I ended up going out with her one night, and all we had on us were our IDs, a pack of cigarettes, and 2 white lighters. And my boyfriend at the time was like, man, you gotta get rid of those white lighters or bad luck. And I never thought anything of it. And we go out to this club. We're dancing, chilling, having a good time. And first thing was that all of the cigarettes in the pack, we lost the pack, and then we ended up finding it on the dance floor, and they were all, like, broken right at the filter. So I was like, damn, that fucking sucks. But wasn't nearly as big as a deal, like, wasn't nearly as big of a deal considering we were trying to leave after, like, when the club closed and she couldn't find her keys. Actually, I take that back. I couldn't find her keys because I had pockets and she did not, and so I was carrying everything. So this was completely my fault. The keys had fallen out of my pocket, and we're looking around. We go out. We're like, well, let's just go check on the car. And of course not, because it's got one of those, like, key fobs on, like, beep, beep, beep. So someone just must have walked around the parking lot beeping on this thing until they found her SUV, and they stole it So here we are, dressed like sluts, sitting on the street corner, 2005, in a dimly lit alley, waiting for the cops to come because we don't have her car. So we are waiting on the curb for the cops to come. The cops never fucking come. So we are dressed like hookers, standing on the corner, waiting for the cops to show up because we need to file a report or something. The cops were not very helpful. They kept staring at my tits. So didn't get much from them. Ended up hitchhiking home with some dudes. I think it was in a truck. I don't know. It's all kind of fuzzy. But we couldn't get into the house. So we ended up having them drop us off at my boyfriend's apartment, because I knew he was awake, and our cell phones were in the car, so we did not have any and my keys were in the car. So we had no way to get to my house, we had no way to get to her house, and we had no way to contact anybody. So we just went to my boyfriend's place and just banged on the door until they opened it. And he sure as shit was just like, I told you not to go out with those white lighters. And we're like, you've got to be kidding me. So we borrowed his phone. She called her parents, told them what happened. And we're standing out on the balcony, smoking. And he's like talking about shit about these white lighters. So we just throw the white lighters off the balcony. And we're like, fine, fuck it. If they're that bad of luck, let's get rid of them. So we get rid of them. And I kid you not, within an hour of throwing out those white lighters, her father had called my boyfriend to get in touch with her, to let her know that someone had messaged him from her phone saying that he had a change of heart and had left her car in a church parking lot, and the keys were under the seat, and gave him the address of where her car could be located. Like, you have to be fucking kidding me. So we had my man drop us off there, and yeah, sure as shit. And he had bagged up everything, like unhooked her system in the back, like her amps and like all of her speakers and shit, put them on, like everything in her car. Trash, not trash, everything, just in grocery bags. And randomly just had a change of heart as soon as we threw out these fucking white lighters. Had a change of heart and left it in the parking lot for us to grab. So with his change of heart, I also had a change of heart, and shortly thereafter I ended up breaking up with that guy. Sweetheart. But I realized after I took a road trip to Virginia with my roommate that I was silly in love with my best friend, and that I wasn't doing myself any favors by staying in a relationship with a person that clearly cared more about me than I cared about him. And that was another lesson in itself. But it did open up a very big window for me to walk through, kind of propelled my party nature. So this one might have been a little bit of a connecting episode so that we understand where we were getting, but the next one's got some spicy shit in it. So, I think that's that. I think we're gonna wrap it up today. Thanks for showing up, and I will see you next Tuesday.